So intense, the cloud.
The cloud.
Let me know if you want to print it, you can. But I said we would start at 6.
Okay, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Awesome. Let's see. So I'm gonna count down from 5, and then sometimes it goes, and then sometimes it doesn't. It's like a coin toss. So, and then I'll introduce you. 5, 4, 3. Okay, it's not working. Okay, so I'm gonna put in the information. Copy.
Let me see, what do you have my name as? Okay, cool.
Monique Walker, MD.
Okay, got it.
Copy. Wait, what? Wait, it's not letting me copy. This is weird. There we go. Copy. Paste. All right. I'm gonna hit go live and we'll see if it goes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, YouTube. Hello, YouTube. This is Joseph Warren here today, and I hope you're having a great day. I'm not sure if it started yet, but today I'm here with my good friend, one of my favorite people, Dr. Monique Walker. She is a very impressive person, a TEDx speaker, medical doctor. She's an entrepreneur and a mother, and she's also, what am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing a few things.
Certified life coach, financial coach.
Certified life coach, financial coach. And she's also someone who tackled a debt of $150,000 and conquered it within 14 months. So a little bit over a year. Today, we're going to be talking about how she did that, her journey. But first, how's it going, Monique? How are you doing today?
I am awesome, Joseph. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. It's so great to have you. And let me just check our audio real quick. I always get super paranoid because once I did a whole episode and there was no audio.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Let's see here, but it looks like it's good. So I'm going to jump right back to our Zoom meeting and got it. Awesome. So Monique, let's start with an icebreaker so people can get to know you a little bit. What's something about you that not a lot of people know?
I think I'm a pretty open book. Let's think. I think one of the things that a lot of people, well, no, they would know. Some of my family and friends would know. I would get in trouble a lot for speaking. Well, that explains me being a professional speaker, right?
That's why you love it. Same for me. I used to get.
Well, a lot of people don't know that I currently help entrepreneurs grow their businesses. I currently have a mastermind group that I help other entrepreneurs grow their businesses to 7+ figures.
Yes, that's the Millionaire Mastermind, correct?
That is called the Millionaire Mastermind, correct.
I'm a member of that. Highly recommend it.
Thank you, Joseph.
Awesome. And all right, so let's see. So you started with $150,000 in debt. We'll start with, how did you rack that up? Was that a trip to Vegas? Was that, how did you end up racking that up?
Oh, Joseph, that is a good question. So, many, many moons ago, I met a lady at Target, right? I was being myself. And when I met her at Target, she was actually having a conversation with the cashier. And she was telling her, yeah, me and my husband, we paid off like $7,000 in debt or something like that. And at the time that was like, oh my gosh, a lot of money, right? And so it's like, oh, you got to tell me. I'm sorry. I couldn't help but to hear this conversation. She goes, it was just a cheesy little handbook that I read. I said, oh, you got to tell me more about it. And that was the beginning of my financial literacy journey. So over the years, I learned how to be financially literate and like really hone in on personal finances, not being in debt, staying out of debt, making sure that I was committed to my personal finances. Well, you get involved with the wrong kind of people and then the debt starts to stack up. So I got into a toxic relationship. It was a domestic violence relationship, actually. And we went our separate ways. And what happened ultimately was I ended up in the courts, child custody. So I had to pay attorneys, and paying the attorneys caused a backlog in everything because the attorneys became the priority if I wanted to keep my kids. So that was really where the bad part of that 150,000 came from. It just created a big backlog in my finances.
All right. So racking up 150,000. And okay, so we'll get back to that in a second, but I wanted to ask you, when did you have that light switch where you're like, I'm going to start tackling this debt? Was there a period of time where you were avoiding it, or did you just like immediately start attacking that 150,000 in debt?
There was an avoidance for a period of time because I, as a matter of fact, I avoided the reality of it as I was going through the courts, because the reality was I felt like there was no way to get out. I was locked in. There was no way out. One shift at a time, one foot in front of the other. So I would avoid it until one day I was in the grocery store and was paying for groceries with a credit card. I couldn't afford to feed us anymore, not even based off of my living. So I decided that, okay, I have to do something. That was like a big light switch moment that things are really, really bad. However, the custody suit continued, and the reality of what was going on was in the back of my head. And when the opportune time came for me to tackle it, that's when I went after it.
Awesome. Awesome. And so kind of painting a picture for me, like leaving a toxic relationship, having 150,000 in debt, using a credit card, it sounds stressful, right? Was there a feeling of like of being overwhelmed, and how did you deal with that, if there was that feeling?
You know, we're talking about debt that was accumulated over a period of time. We're not talking about the overall cost of the entire journey. The journey itself cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. The 150 was what was left over, just so you know, just to be clear about that. Your question is, how do you cope with that? Was that correct?
Yeah. Was there like a feeling of being overwhelmed, or it sounds stressful? So I was wondering how you dealt with that stress, if there was stress with that situation.
Oh my gosh. It was very stressful. I think that, you know, you have to implement your basic coping mechanisms. Hopefully, you know, if someone is going through that, they have healthy coping. For me, it was exercising, it was prayer, and it was talking to friends and family about the struggle, about what I was going through.
Awesome. Awesome. So very good. And I wanted to ask you, what were some highs and lows during that journey when you were paying off that debt?
So in the process of paying off the debt, that part was very, very fun, actually, because I knew where we were going. So that was a good thing. So that's a high for me, having a goal and working towards it. That's definitely a high. So every time I chipped away a little bit more at it, we chipped away some more at it. And I say we, because it was my family, included children, husband, new husband, by the way, just to be clear, not the toxic guy. But we worked as I knew we were working towards a goal, and I knew where we would end up. That was the total high for me. It kept me motivated. It gave me a reason to get up in the morning, to go to work, because I knew we were working towards something positive as a family.
Yeah.
Some of the lows were missing my family because I was gone quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I was going through my phone and was looking over some footage from when I was at work or driving to work, and I would do these little motivational videos to tell people, hey, don't give up, stay focused. If your situation's similar, you're trying to get out of debt, this is something you have to do, because it's sacrifice. And I sacrificed a lot of time and space and energy that could have been given to my family. It was a big sacrifice. And I missed out on a lot in that period.
Okay. Thank you. And wanted to ask you, when it comes to that journey, you said you called upon your support network, your friends, family. Mm-hmm. Who was someone who helped you, or who was instrumental in helping you and your family during that journey? And what did they teach you?
You know what? My most instrumental, I have quite a few girlfriends that I would call on, because you can feel stressors in different areas of your life. So I had a network in place that supported me, whether it was with the children or in my marriage, or just, I can't do this anymore. So it's several people. I can't single out just one person, but I can say that the closest person to me in that period was my husband, because he was there with me when I was tired. He was there when my back was hurting. He was there doing his part in the journey as well. So I would say he was the number one support person in place for the journey because he was a part of the journey. We both did the journey together.
Awesome. That's awesome. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I always think, I'm a financial planner, right? I always think it's a team effort, especially husband and wife. It's definitely, finances are a team effort. Can you tell us some of the things you learned through that process of paying off the debt and going through that debt-free journey together?
Definitely. They say the number one reason for divorce is financial trouble. And I can tell you that when finances were bad, it did cause a lot of stress. We had, extra stressors other than regular day-to-day stuff. It was just really super stressful to have this thing kind of lay over it just like covered the whole family essentially. However, what I did find was that when we decided to go on that journey together and we became a team in that, knowing that we were working towards a common goal, it actually brought us closer together. So it made the journey really worth it. I believe that teamwork definitely is the dream work in a marriage, especially when it comes to facing financial troubles. Now, remind you, the debt wasn't because of him. He lived a debt-free life. He's a debt-free person. He's a financial guy. He does really good for himself financially. This debt had came from the past. I was carrying this debt, but he was such a great support system, playing his role and doing his part in the journey that it just brought us closer together. It cemented things for me as far as where we were as husband and wife.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's almost like going into battle together. It's kind of what I envision.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Very good. And so there's many different techniques you hear about when it comes to paying off debt. You hear about like the debt avalanche, debt snowball. They all have to do with, for some reason, snow. I don't know why. Maybe you know why. But which one did you use and how did you come to that determination? Like, what was the technique that you used to pay off your debt?
Okay, so I love Dave Ramsey. I'm a Ramsey girl. That little cheesy handbook that I talked about before in 2007. Yeah, that was Dave Ramsey's book. What book was it? It was
Total Money Makeover.
Total Money Makeover, but it wasn't she said, whatever you do, don't just get the book, get the workbook. So it was a Total Money Makeover workbook. So I use the same system that Dave Ramsey uses. I believe in that system as far as to actually annihilating the debt using that same method. He recommends the snowball method.
The snowball. And could you explain what that is just for people who are unfamiliar, the snowball?
Yeah, sure. So the snowball method, how that works is you list your debts from the smallest to the largest, balance, not interest, balance. And you focus on paying everybody the minimum payment, the requirements in order to prevent the loan from going into default. Mm-hmm. The only thing that you focus on is the smallest account. And you put everything into the smallest account as far as whatever you've sold or however you make extra money. If you work overtime, you'll put the monies into only that account until you pay that account off. And remember, you would have had a minimum monthly payment on that account, whether it's a $5, $10, $20, whatever it is. Yeah. You'll take that and you roll that into the following account. So now the minimum payment for the second account that you have lined up, you would have the minimum plus what you would have been paying anyways. And then you attack that account in the same exact way. Okay. You go at it and then you just continue the process. So it really doesn't require you to make more money. It just gives you a systematic way to attack the debt from smallest to largest. It also incentivizes the process because as you're paying off these smaller debts, it's very motivating. It's like, okay, I got this. I can do this. This is good. Yeah. It helps you to be totally motivated as far as accomplishing your goal.
Awesome. So you went with the snowball, and I can kind of picture it. So you start with the smaller ones, you attack that, and then you have more firepower as you do that. And then you go to the bigger ones and bigger and bigger. Exactly. How did you feel after you conquered the first piece of debt? So can you remember that time when it was like the first balance, you got rid of it?
You want me to tell you? It's not the first time that I was in debt. This one was pretty big. The first time when I was in debt, like a deep debt, and because, like I said, I've been doing financial literacy since 2007, right?
Okay.
On personal finances. In 2013 was my first time, like with a whopping number, looking at it and going, oh, shoot, it was 50,000 in debt. The deal was the toxic guy was going to pay half and I was going to pay half. And after we had goals, right? We had goals in place, but he left. He said, you deal with it. He left his debt. The debt was in my name. So I was responsible for it. So I remember what it felt like the first time I paid the first account off then. And it was kind of like, yeah, I got this. I can do this. I got it. Because at that point, I was a single mom with 6 kids. I got this. I got it. And it was 50,000. And it was only me at that point. And I started the plan in October. And by January, I was done. So $50,000.
Wow.
And I do
in 3 months?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you do that? That's very impressive.
I just followed the plan. I'm a very focused person. I'm a very determined person. I think it has to do with my personality as far as just being totally, when I see something and I'm locked in, I am going for it. I was totally locked in. I needed a better financial future at the time for myself and my children, scared out of my mind. So I was working crazy hours, more than I would recommend anybody to work. I missed a whole bunch at that time too. So doing that and going through that process at that point prepared me for the later journey, which is what we're talking about now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, that 50,000, that first journey, what did you learn during that time that helped you or was instrumental in you paying off the $150,000 in debt later on?
Perseverance. It'll all be worth it. Yeah. It'll all be worth it. And it has been. Life has been good. It'll all be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that perseverance. Someone's watching right now and they struggle with perseverance. They try a lot of different things. They give up. What would you tell that person, or what would you tell to anyone who is struggling with perseverance?
Get a mentor. Get someone who can educate you and teach you the skills that are necessary for you to have a systematic way of attacking whatever it is that you're dealing with. No matter, it could be debt, it could be mental health, whatever it is, you need to have a mentor, someone who has been through it, who can talk you through it, who can show you and point you to the correct way, so that you have guidance, you'll have accountability. Get a mentor.
Awesome. And now we're going a little bit off script. I always do this. I play jazz.
That's fine.
So when it comes to finding a mentor, what tips do you have? And who's someone who's been a mentor who is very important in your life, who really helped you?
I have tons of mentors. Here's why. I read a whole lot. I read more than your average person, probably. I try to read a book a week. That's my goal. So far for 2022, I've been successful. So yay for me in that regard. So I have tons of mentors, and I consider if I read your materials and it has impacted me or causes me to shift my mindset or to grow in a specific area, you become my mentor. So then I will immerse myself in YouTube and your content, whatever it is that's out there. I will become more familiar with the person. Some of the people that I've read and that have actually like impacted me via book first, and then I wanted to learn more about what this person is. Dave Ramsey, told you about him, love him. He doesn't know me, but I love him, love his work. Yes. Brendan Burchard, love his work. Tony Robbins, love his work. You know, these guys, I love his work. Henry Cloud, love his work. Yeah. So there are many great mentors out there. They're found in books though, right? And even if you don't have direct access to the person, you can always read the content and find out what help is out there that's available.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So a lot of books. You mentioned Henry Cloud, Tony Robbins. Was it Brendan Burchard? Brendan Burchard. Okay. Awesome. And Dave Ramsey, of course. I want to ask you about Dave Ramsey specifically. So in my family, I don't know if they call him this, but we call him Uncle Dave.
Oh, he is. Yes.
When my parents got divorced, my
Uh-huh.
mom and my dad got divorced. My mom never handled the finances, and watching his podcast, reading his books helped her to save a good amount of money for her retirement. So she was about 10 years away from retirement at that point in time. So very instrumental in my mom's success with her financial success. But I want to ask you, when you were reading Total Money Makeover, what were some things that stuck out to you that really helped you along from that book or workbook?
I believe the things that really stuck out to me were the things that I didn't know growing up. Right. So the number one thing was how to really write a budget and how to work a budget and do a zero balance budget. Like that really was like, oh, this is the right way to do it. That really stuck out to me. Let me think of what else really just like hit home, because I became like a straight fan. So back in the day, right, I made sure that I got the discs, because it was CD players back then. I know a lot of people don't know about CD players, but he had it was a brown folding thing, and it had all the different discs, and I would listen to those every single day. It's called the Financial Peace University. Have you ever heard of that, Financial Peace?
I have, yes.
Okay,
yes,
so I would listen to FPU. My kids know Dave. They know Uncle Dave. So I'd listen to Financial Peace University. The number one thing, though, here, it just like the light switch just went on.
Yeah.
The number one thing that Dave Ramsey says that has impacted me to this day, and that has made me decide, it actually influenced my decision in becoming a professional speaker, was people are paying me for my ideas. And I said, oh, whoa. He said, and people are paying me for my ideas. And he kind of laughed. It was like a joke to him, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people are really paying me for my ideas. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Because I'm willing to give you what I have for your ideas. Your ideas are amazing. Yeah. And I have lots of ideas. So why not? Right? Why awesome. Not share the ideas?
Yeah. I love that. So two things there, the zero balance budget and getting paid for your ideas. We're definitely going to get back to getting paid for your ideas. But I want to ask you just real quick, could you explain what a zero balance budget is for people who are looking to pay off their debt?
Sure. It's just writing your budget out and making sure that you spend your money on paper on purpose. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Spend your money on paper on purpose. Spend your money on paper before you go out and spend it at a grocery store. You know that this is all you're spending for your groceries. That's it. That's it. You're not going over that. This is all you're spending on gas. That's it. You spend every dollar on paper on purpose so that you tell your money where to go, not have your money tell you what it's doing, essentially, or not having your money fly away and then you're wondering, well, what happened? No. Yeah. So before you spend a dime, you put it on paper and you already know exactly where it's going to go. Exactly. The income. Yep. And awesome. you stay committed to it. Very cool. Very cool. I'm hearing something about committed discipline. How do you stay disciplined with something like that? Were there any times where that was a struggle when it came to finances, like staying disciplined to a budget, paying off the debt? Well, I come from a background of homelessness as a child, right? Teenager, homeless teen parent. And anything that would secure a roof over my head, secure my finances, that type of thing is important. That's just the way I am now. It's so important. So I never really struggled with staying committed to that because my why is big enough. I have a why. I never want to be homeless. I never want to not have food. And that brings you back full circle to being in the grocery store and paying with a credit card. It's like, oh, shoot, no, this is not good. Does that make sense? Alarm bells went off. Yeah. Yeah. The alarms went off. Like, oh my gosh, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. You can't afford to do that. So my why is big enough to carry me through as far as commitment and discipline, especially when it comes to finances. Awesome. I love it. And we're definitely going to talk about ideas for money, because I love that. I love the world we live in nowadays. It's so exciting. Like it is. So many ways to make money. It's crazy. Yes. And I want to ask you about, so say you were giving advice to someone who was in a similar situation to you, or if you were just going back to yourself and giving yourself advice when you first started,
Is there anything you wish you had done differently, or is there any advice you would give yourself when you were first facing any debt burden?
I can't say that I would have changed my journey, my own journey. I can't say that I would have changed my own journey. Because based on that journey, that's the way that I actually connect with people. Because believe it or not, people connect in painful places. I know that it's a reality that, we want to be pretty and we want to appear a certain kind of way, and we want to put all that to the side. Let's be for real. This is life. So in those places of pain, I'm able to connect with especially women who have been through or who are going through toxic relationships. And what I would tell her, because I wouldn't change my story, otherwise I wouldn't be able to give this advice, right? Yeah. What I would say is don't get involved with someone that's toxic. Do the work on yourself that's necessary, because you don't know what the consequence can be or what the consequences are to follow, because there's no rationalizing irrational behavior, right? Or with irrational people. Oh, so yeah. you can't plan a future with someone who's irrational. So if you're in a relationship and it's toxic, I beg you, please get out. Get out. There's a bright future ahead of you. That would be my thing. That's what I would tell someone who is facing a situation, because this could have been prevented had I gotten out from the beginning, right? We wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah. Someone who's facing debt, I would say get a systematic way to pay the debt off, pay it off. Debt-free living is awesome and amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Okay. I like that you use the word systematic, because I think a lot of times with money, our emotions can throw us off. And when you get the system going, it's like, it takes the emotions out of the equation.
Yeah. You can't, yeah. Money and emotions are two different things.
Yeah.
Money is really an inanimate object. Like, it really has no kind of anything. It's paper, it's cotton. It's like, okay, this is what it is at the moment. You know, what's interesting, Joseph? Yeah. Money was once tulips, colorful tulips. Like, so money itself it's not an emotional thing. It's inanimate. You have to deal with your emotional issues, your hangups, whatever it is, your hurts, whatever it is that you have going on. You have to deal with those separate from your money. You have to separate the two. That's the only way to be able to move forward systematically, financially speaking.
Get a system. I love it.
Get a system. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you were mentioning toxic relationships, and I wanted to ask you, I guess that can be a tricky situation. What are some red flags to look out for when it comes to that, and some tips for escaping something like that? Because I think that could help a lot of people to hear that. And I know a lot of times that can be tough, leaving a situation like that. So I wanted to ask you about that.
What are some of the signs? Now, I can easily tell you the signs of what a toxic person looks like, but what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk about you and your toxicity, right? Okay. So I know, right? Not you, Joseph. How did you know? Come on. Not you, Joseph, but I'm talking to the woman that's out there that may be dating and should not be dating, or the man that's dating and should not be dating. You first have to know yourself. That's the very first thing. So if you are a needy person, or a person that clings, or you need approval from others outside of yourself, or you struggle with self-hate or a lot of self-doubt, or you're indecisive, you're not ready for a relationship. You're not ready to connect with anyone because you're not whole yet. So I would say the very first thing that anyone should do prior to even getting involved with someone is a self-inventory, and really be truly honest with themselves about their past, about the different things that they've experienced, how they respond to the world that they're in, how the people around them respond. What type of people are you attracting to yourself? How do they make you feel? Be truthful about your feelings. Are you an honest person? Can you speak up for yourself if you need to? All of these things are super important. Before you add anyone else to the equation, you have to be at peace with you, and you have to be confident and courageous enough to stand up for you. Otherwise, you have no business in a relationship, period.
Wow.
Because what's going to happen ultimately is if you have those qualities or characteristics, you will start to attract the types of personalities that feed on that.
Yeah.
And toxicity attracts toxicity. That's just the reality of it. So in order to not attract what's toxic, you have to do your own detox and be sure that you're healthy within yourself before getting involved with someone. Validation cannot come from your relationship because relationships do end. You have to be able to be okay validating yourself. You have to have the confidence to take care of self. So yeah, it'd be easy to point the finger and go, he, her. It'd be easy to do that. But no, let's really talk about the issue at hand. And what a person has control over is themselves.
I love that. Like the root cause, the true root cause. A lot of times we want to look at the symptom or something else, but what can you control? I like that.
And that's self, right? You can control your personal development, your growth. You can recognize your faults and your flaws, and you can work those things out.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you, so someone who's just leaving a toxic relationship, what advice would you give to them when it comes to finances or just getting back to being themselves or back to the healthy version of themselves?
Someone who's just leaving?
Yeah, someone correct? Who's just left one.
Okay, so if
like a year,
like a year out. Okay, so if you've just left a toxic relationship, things that I will tell you is you'll never be the same person. And there's going to be a lot of hard work to do. And it's important that you just get it done. And that hard work is self-inventory. That hard work is looking at yourself and being honest with who you are, what you've learned, and actually assimilating the lessons into your personality. And you'll be surprised at the different things that you'll learn about yourself and how much you have grown from the experience. Learn to be grateful and not to be bitter. Be grateful. I'm grateful for my experience, like I said, because I can now set the example for my children, and I can now help others find their way. If they get lost in that whole situation, I can at least say, hey, there's a better way. I can be that voice. So it took a lot for me to be able to get to that place of like, okay, I'm grateful that this happened, but that took a lot of work as well.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you, so one of the reasons you're one of my favorite people is because you inspire me to be better, because you're always doing cool stuff, right?
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to ask you about part of your success journey. So tell us about the journey of how you became a medical doctor. How did that go? In one sentence or less. I'm just kidding.
In one sentence? I'm a talker. So let's see.
I'm just joking.
So I feel like God is the greatest orchestrator of a story. Like he puts the whole thing together and then we're just supposed to follow our script, whatever it is that he tells us to do. So I can't really take credit for my success as becoming a doctor. So at the time, all right, let me just go back a little bit. When I was a child, I've always wanted to be a doctor. That's just one of those things. Someone was sick. At the time we had encyclopedias. I would grab the encyclopedia and I go, well, this is what it says here. And this is how long it's going to last. I had a sister who had scarlet fever and I was telling her tongue, let me see her tongue. It's strawberry. Yep. Strawberry, just like it says here in the book. And she's going to have it for this amount of weeks. And do you know she can die? Does she have a fever? Like I was that kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'd be looking in the encyclopedia at the skeletons. They had like skeletons and muscles and stuff like that. So I was pretty sure about all along where I wanted to go. Then I became a mom at a young age. So that dream was kind of like to the side. Building a family, here we are, many moons later, single mom now with 6. And then God goes, okay, now it's your time. And I'm like, I put it on the back burner when I was younger with one kid. What do you mean now it's my time? What does that look like? And it was just like, it was almost, I can't even, like I said, I can't take credit for it. I knew that I wanted to advance my education. At the time I was a nurse and I started nurse practitioner school, but I wasn't successful at that because I was dealing with toxicity. And here I was, 6 kids. I knew as a nurse, I couldn't do this for very long with just 6 kids, me, a nurse's salary. I had to do something different.
Mhm.
And these opportunities just kept opening up. It was like, oh, have you heard about this school? Have you heard about that school? Have you heard about this school? Well, a month after he left, I applied to medical school because I felt like that was the right thing to do for my financial future, right? And for an example for my kids. And then not only that, God co-signed it. So I was good to go. So that's really how that whole idea came about. And then going to school was tough. It was hard as hell. That's all I could say. It was so hard.
Yeah.
It was tough. But I did it. And I did it 4 years. It took 4 years. It's done.
Yeah. You talk about having a why motivating you. What was your why at that point in time when it came to medical school and
My
studying
kids.
and all that? Yeah.
My kids, the legacy, my life purpose, my life. I had to live out what I know. When you know what you're here to do, that at that season, I knew that this was what I was put here to do.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You're also a fellow public speaker and you gave a TEDx speech. I want to ask you, how did that come about? So how did you get your TEDx speech and how did you choose what to talk about? How did that go?
Oh, that was Joseph, you always ask me these questions and you get me to
I'm the Barbara Walters.
Listen, I'm either really always laughing with you or crying with you. Okay. You bring me to these emotional places. The TEDx talk, TEDx Colorado Springs is where I spoke. It's an extension of a conversation that was started in 2014. Now, remind you that conversation did not happen in front of everyone until 2019. It was a conversation with God that I needed to understand why my life was the way that it was. Why am I in this space? I just don't understand why. And pretty much what I was told was, it's not about you. And my response at the time was, if it's not about me, I know you don't expect me to tell this story because that's not happening. Fast forward years later, there you go, TEDx Colorado Springs. I applied for it and it worked itself out. I got my platform when I finally said, okay, I'm ready to tell the story because I knew that was what I needed to do in that season.
Yeah.
Hey, God, I'm in submission. You go ahead and use me. I will tell the story. And so that's how that came out. I have not told that story since. And if anyone wants to know my story, they can go check the talk out. Don't co-sign craziness. Unforgiveness is making you sick.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
That's the title of the speech, by the way.
Yeah. But it's also valid.
It is.
Yeah. Forgiveness is huge. I think letting go, right? That's a part of debt payoff is sort of the same type of journey of forgiveness, right? You're letting go of something.
You're letting go. Absolutely. Yes. Right? You go through the whole grief cycle too. When you go through the debt. Yeah. When you go through debt, you go through a grief cycle.
Tell us about that. I like to hear.
So the grief cycle, you start in this place of denial. And then you start to believe it's bargaining, like, okay, if I do this, then maybe this, and then you get angry about it. And then, then you finally get to this place of acceptance. So it's an entire cycle that you go through. It's grief. You actually grieve the loss of whatever it is, like your finances. You go through a grief cycle, literally. And once you finally arrive at acceptance, that's when you're truly ready to attack the debt and take care of the debt.
Awesome. And I wanted to ask you, so what was it like when you made that last payment on your debt? Do you remember the amount of the payment? And what was it like when you totally became debt free?
Yes.
Did you call Dave Ramsey?
No, I didn't call Dave.
Let's call him now.
As a matter of fact, let's call him Dave. If you
Dave,
see this, let's have a conversation. Look, right? Let's have a conversation. Anthony O'Neill. No. But no, as a matter of fact, it's very interesting because I have footage of it. It was $45,870.
Yeah.
Right? $45,870.
Okay.
That was a final payoff to pay the balance for my education. That was it. So, and that was pretty cool too, because I graduated in 2018 and by 2020, all my education was paid off. So that was pretty cool too. Yeah. So any medical doctors who needs tips on how to pay their stuff off, you're struggling with debt,
I'm sensing a market. I'm
connect
sensing a
with
product.
look, I'm
Okay.
telling you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because I've had conversations with doctors,
Yeah.
and I had one doc whose debt was well over 300,000. And his loan company was telling him, oh yeah, it's going to take you about 21 years. Now, remind you, this guy is like in his 30s. And
Yeah.
he's looking at his life in front of him. He's like, well, I got this over my head for 21 years. And I'm like, no, you don't. And I sat with him, I walked him through. And by the time we were done, it would take him 3 years to pay his debt off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It would take him 3 years to pay his debt off.
What advice do you have for professionals? And, I've worked with a few professionals who have a lot of debt. There's certain ones like lawyers, doctors have a lot of debt, usually. And what advice do you have for people in that type of situation, or even just for doctors? We can focus on doctors who have a lot.
They can give me a call. They can connect with me. No, don't. That is actually true. They can connect with me if you're a professional and you're struggling with debt. I get it. I'm a professional too who struggled with debt. What I would suggest is that you do not be discouraged by the number. Find a systematic way to pay it off and get it paid off. That's what I would say. And if you need support, seriously, connect with me.
Awesome. Very good. And there's no better person to go to. I think you're very brilliant at business when it comes to that, because you went through it, right? And instead of being like, woe is me, I can't believe I had to go through that, you're just like, well, how can I help other people who are going through this?
Might as well.
Like a perfect business model.
Right? Might as well. I mean, I would not want to learn to become a chef from a mechanic, right?
Yeah. No.
I would want to learn how to be a chef from someone who's an experienced chef. So when it comes to your finances, you want someone who's been through some experiences that can relate to what you're saying, not just someone who has a, this is okay. You don't want that. You want someone who's been there, who's been through it, who has grit, who's able to become creative because they've had to experience it themselves, who can relate to your pain because they've experienced that pain. Someone who's passionate and focused and determined to get you to where you're trying to go. So if I want to be a chef, a healthy chef, I'm going to find a healthy chef to teach me how to be that way. If I want somebody who deals in finances, who have been through some stuff to support me, that is the best way to go, as opposed to just going with just whomever. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way with a mentor. Like, have they done it before? What I want to do?
Yeah. How are you going to advise me on something that you've never been through? Like,
a lot of people will give opinions on things they've
never done. Your opinion's nice, but no, experience is what counts.
That's where it's at. Yeah, definitely. I love it. And let's see here. I wanted to ask real quick, just about, I think it's an important topic, and kind of swinging back around, financial abuse. That can be a thing where people kind of like use money to control. Do you want to have any comments on that? Any just comments or ideas or anything you want to put out there when it comes to financial abuse?
It's very interesting, Joseph, that you ask about that. As a matter of fact, I was online and I was researching financial abuse, and I really did not know this statistic, that 99% of domestic violence relationship has a component of financial abuse attached to it. Wow. So let's take a look. Let me tell you where that fact came from, because it really shocked me. It says financial abuse occurs in 99% of domestic violence cases. And I can attest that that is true. Even though I was earning money, there was financial abuse. And the resource that I got that from was a national network to end domestic violence. So I was very shocked at that. And what financial abuse looks like is the victim is in a position where their finance is being controlled by the abuser in some form or fashion, whether it's that the victim doesn't work and that person is the sole provider in the home, meaning the abuser is a sole provider in the home, or the abuser takes control over the finances or does things to sabotage the finances. Whatever it is that they do, it puts the victim, or it solidifies, I guess, the victimized mindset, because now I can't leave because my finances all depends on this person, because
Yeah.
that's the whole premise. It's to put the victim in a state of dependency.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see how money would be a big thing with that, because money does, it controls a lot of things. It's powerful. It can be powerful over people, especially
Right.
when you don't have it, right? It's like, wow.
And so that's why it's so important. That's why I said, when you asked that question earlier, that's why I said it's so important. Forget what not to look for in a mate. Be sure that you're strong within who you are, and you have your ducks in order before you get involved with anybody. Because once negative comes or toxicity comes, you'll know how to go, you're messing up my space. This is not working. You got to go. You know what I mean? You won't, and you, chances are you won't attract those types of people, because you would have your crap together, essentially.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Awesome. And wanted to ask you a few questions here about, you mentioned that you love to read. I've heard you say before, readers are leaders. I love that quote.
Mhm.
What's your favorite financial book or success book that you've ever written, and why? And what did it teach you?
That I've written or read?
Read.
That I've read. That
Or
I've
written.
written. Are
If
you
you've
trying
written
to
it, you can-
are you trying to obligate me to write a book? Um, let's see. The best fight, Dave Ramsey, the Total Money Makeover Workbook. That cheesy little handbook was exactly what she said. That was the best financial book that I've read. And that was the very beginning of my journey that helped open my eyes to finances in a different way.
Awesome. All right. And let's go deeper. I wanted to ask you a question here about happiness.
Okay.
Before we go deeper, I wanted to start. I thought I could ask a silly question, but I think we'll just go for it.
Go ahead.
What's the secret to being happy, and why does it elude most people? Do you know the answer to that?
The secret to being happy is from within, right? It comes from within. I believe that we are physical beings. As a matter of fact, I tell my children this all the time. We're actually spiritual beings having a human experience. That's what we are. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And therefore, I feel like happiness comes from within. It comes from your source. For me, it's God, and how you connect with your source. That's what I believe happiness, true happiness is connecting with your source and being okay right there with the source.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about your journey. So when you think about your journey to where you are today, Monique, what's something that seemed like a bad thing in the moment, but actually ended up being a good thing for you?
Everything.
Good answer.
Every struggle, every bump, every bruise, everything seemed so bad. I didn't make it. That's what it felt like, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, it was all worth it. It all serves a purpose. It all serves a purpose. Every experience, no matter how bad it was that I've been through, I can look back on it now and go, oh, I understand. Okay. Yeah.
That's why. Okay. Awesome. And what is something that you've learned on your journey? So like the journey of life or debt-free journey that you believe would benefit others?
The journey of life or the debt-free journey that will benefit others. I've learned so much. Stay connected to God is number one. Always give him his acknowledgement, and trust the process, because there is a process that we have to go through in order for us to arrive. And I don't think we ever fully arrive, but for us to, I don't think we really fully arrive, but I guess for us to have peace, we have to mature. There we go. Maturity is the word that I'm looking for. So trust God, trust the process. That would be the biggest thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And like, what is something you learned early on in life or in one of your first jobs or an early job that still impacts how you do business today?
You know, it's funny, Joseph, that you asked that. So I have a son.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're fresh out, when you're in college, you kind of job hop and you move around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had that experience earlier in life because I was younger when I was ejected out of my home. I was a child. I was 15, right? And so I would job hop and I'd move from job to job and job to job and customer service and a little bit of this and some child leadership role or something. I was doing all these little jobs. And then finally, what I found was that every job that I had and every experience that I had in those jobs, especially the ones that really stand out in my memory, they all served a purpose later on, even now that I'm applying. So every experience that we have in life does have its purpose. So I look at my son now and I'm like, wait a minute, you did the same thing. I mean, now he has a stable job. He's good, but it all served a purpose. I'm able to remember back from my first job, the second job, the third job, what it was like, and the different experiences or the conversations that I may have had or whatever it was that I'm able to still apply to this day.
That's awesome. And can you give me one example of one of those things that just stuck with you throughout the whole journey?
Absolutely. Believing yourself. I remember I was I got to my place of stability, right? Yeah. And I was working at a specific call center. I won't say the name of the company. And I had been there for a little while. And at the time I decided that I was going to go back to school. I'm going to become a nurse. And they told me they were not going to change they're not going to change my schedule. They're not going to change my schedule. And I just need to put school on the back burner and focus on the company and what the company needs are. And I believed in myself. And I said, I guess I'm out. And if it wasn't for me believing in my vision and my dreams for my life and understanding that a job is just that, a job, then I wouldn't be where I'm at now. I would still be focusing on the company. Yeah.
Which will not be named.
Which will not be named. I'll tell you off air.
Voldemort Inc. All right. Awesome. So Monique, I want to ask you a question here, which I just started asking. I asked it on my last interview too. What's something that you know that you think a lot of other people in the world do not know?
What is something that I know that I think a lot of other people in the world do not know? I don't think it's that they do not know. I think it's that they're choosing to do it their way. That there is a God and that we are liable, or we're liable for everything that we do and that we say. And that the only way to God is through his son, Jesus Christ. So I don't think it's that we don't know. I believe that people they're just doing what they want to do. Yeah. They're refusing to accept truth. That's my belief.
Awesome. Okay.
I know, cool. Went deep, but that's the one thing.
I love it. And Monique, what's a pivotal moment in your life that's shaped how you see the world today?
A pivotal moment in my life that shaped how I see the world today. My most recent, I can look at it from a negative or a positive standpoint. I think it's let's look at it from a positive standpoint. My relationship with money has changed. So let me tell you, Joseph, I did this mastermind that a good friend of mine invited me to. Yeah. And he recommended that we read this book together week by week and that this is what it's going to entail. And I trust my friend. And so I did. And let me tell you, that mastermind changed my life and my perspective on money, my relationship with money, and just overall, it transformed my life. Yeah. So that's something that I can definitely say. Would you like to know the details of that mastermind?
I would love to.
It's the Money Mastermind by your mastermind, Joseph Warren's mastermind. Strongly recommended. It changed my life. It impacted me greatly and transformed even in my house. Every one of the kids have a new business that they've started since. So I'm just saying.
Can you tell us about those businesses? I want to hear about them now.
Yes. We got a dog walking business going. So remind you, I'm mom, dad, these are our businesses now. Okay. So we have dog walking going. Yeah. We have two of them selling cookies in school. We got one who's babysitting now. And we have one who's doing random things for neighbors, whatever odd things they need, like vacuuming their car or picking up their acorns. They're like, okay, how can we monetize? Well, what can we do? So we have, so they're now more financially aware as well, because they actually listened into a few of our calls.
Man, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I remember after the mastermind, you calling me and you said you had made a big sell. I remember that. I talk about that sometimes. $5,000.
$5,000. Yes, that is correct. Absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome.
And that's because, and I would not have thought that I was able to sell. I never thought, not in that way, not in that capacity, in the sense of I'm used to making money by clocking in, right?
Yeah.
And so you clock in, you make your money, you clock out, you don't make money. I wasn't on the clock and I was able to sell. So that was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And that was because of the mastermind.
So basically not having to work, like that's something that's huge, is like, we're always taught you have to work hard. That's the only way to make money. Like that's what school teaches you.
Right.
You get here at 8 or 9 and you leave at 5, 4. They make it a little bit easier on the kids.
Right.
And then you just put in your work, you put your head down, right? And then, but the rich don't do that. What the rich do is they have money working for them, whether they're sleeping, whatever they're doing, they're making money.
Exactly. The traditional way of doing things is not necessarily the way. It's not, you don't have to follow the traditional path in order to be successful. As a matter of fact, if you follow the traditional path of what the recommendations are for education, then you're going to get the traditional results. So you sometimes have to go off the path and learn new ways of doing things. Doing what the rich do. Look at what the rich do and follow that.
Yeah. Ask them to be your mentor.
Ask them to get a mentor. There you go. Get a mentor. Awesome. Full circle yet again.
I love it. I know you're big on legacy. I saw one of your speeches about legacy, which I can still remember. I still have the work. You gave an index card on it. I still have it over here in my desk. Oh. And I wanted to ask you, so like, if you're thinking 100, 150 years down the road, what do you want your legacy to be?
100 and 150 years down the road, that firecracker of a woman. I want people to remember me as someone who actually cared and made a difference, that I actually made a difference and impact that's worth talking about, like a massive impact for women, for children, for the homeless.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Massive impact with how you live.
Massive impact. Whatever I do, it should be talked about forever. Yeah. For women, for children, for the homeless, to their benefit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And along that same vein or that same idea, if you could talk to like great grandkids right now, like they're watching YouTube and they're like, this is so old fashioned. Or they're like, what is YouTube? That's like Nick at Night or something. I don't know.
Right. Dinosaur age stuff.
It's like this has, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, what would you say? What would you say to them? Great grandchildren or grandchildren?
Yeah, you have my blood flowing through your veins, and that's powerful. Always stay connected to God. That's the number one thing. And I will always tell people that anything that you do, put God first. And I'm telling my great grandchildren and all the generations thereafter, my blood is flowing through your veins. And if you stay connected to God, the generational blessings will be on your life.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And final question here is, if you could leave the audience with one final message, what would that be?
If I can leave the audience with one final message is, if you want to get out of debt, get focused, get a system and work your system and make it happen. If you struggle in your mental health, get mental health support so that you can systematically address the different areas in your life that are of concern to you. Because a lot of times you'll see that mental health tends to be the foundational issue when people create debt, whether it's that they are a shopaholic or they eat food addiction or they're in a toxic relationship, you'll notice that there's a pattern that says, okay, there's some mental health stuff. So get your mental health stuff taken care of first, foremost, take care of yourself, and then take care of your finances systematically.
I love it.
And then can I also say this? I help women who are in toxic relationships or who have been in toxic relationships, whether you're a divorcee or someone who's leaving a bad relationship. I help women get out of debt, stay out of debt, and build wealth. That's my signature thing that I do. And then the second thing that I do is I have a Millionaire Mastermind, which Joseph is in the Millionaire Mastermind, where we do amazing things to help entrepreneurs who are looking to earn 7+ figures. So just wanted to be sure that I shared those two things.
Yes, highly recommend the Millionaire Mastermind. Really helped me a lot. It's been very instrumental, inspirational, and just helped me like grow my net worth, get a lot of goals done. There was one particular thing which we'll always remember is I had been struggling to make a TikTok video, and I kept saying, I'm going to make a TikTok video this week, but I would never do it. And then Monique said, I want you to get that TikTok video done within an hour, and we're all going to watch it, everyone here. And then you started listing off all these extra people who would watch it too, like your kids, and they're all counting on you. We want to see it within the hour. And something I had been thinking about doing for about maybe actually a long time, like when TikTok was called Musical.ly, I actually made the TikTok within an hour and just did it. And it just showed like a lot of these burdens are in our mind.
It's in our minds. Yep.
Yeah.
It starts in the mind. Mental health. Yes, absolutely. Wow.
Exactly.
I'm so happy that we were able to support you in that.
Of course.
So
highly recommend that. Your course, how can people get your course for the ladies who are struggling with leaving a toxic relationship? Or
anyone who wants to get access to my work can just connect with me at Monique Walker, MD. That's at MoniqueWalker, MD. That's my handle. Find me on any one of the social media platforms and just send me a message and we can connect and talk.
Awesome. Very good. And is there anything else you want to say?
No. I mean, I had a great time talking to you as usual. At least this time I didn't cry.
Oh man, we gotta wait. We still got some time. Like, no,
you can make me cry. Oh my gosh, Joseph has a way of carrying my emotions. He says things like, "Woo!" Yeah, no, I really appreciate. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to have this conversation with you and to be able to share with your audience what my experiences have been. And hopefully they can benefit off of it and you can as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So for those of you watching, be sure to like and subscribe. I put Monique Walker's information in the description so you can find all her social media if you'd like to reach out, especially if you need help in the areas of getting out of debt, leaving a toxic relationship, and want to reach your millionaire goal. Definitely reach out to her to talk to her. She's very helpful, very inspirational person and uplifting. And yeah, that's all I got to say. So like and subscribe and bye everybody. See you later. Bye. This is always the awkward part because I got to figure out how to turn it off. I always forget. All right, Let's see.
The pains of social media.
All right. Looks like we did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
Did we have any viewers?
I don't know. I hope so. Looks like we have some viewers. Yeah.
How many?
Let's see. Right now it says we had 3 concurrent. It's not a lot, but something.
Hey, listen, it's better than none.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good content.
So, I hope so. Joseph,
that's the way I see it. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully I did good.
You did. You're amazing. Yes. All the questions were good. Everything was good.
I think so. Oh, likes the link you shared. Somebody liked the link. Okay, awesome. I think that was fun. I had fun doing it.
Me too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Great. Looks like the sound was working because we got a comment.
What was the comment?
Let's see. That to write a book.
Oh, who said that? Gosh, pressure.
No, I'm not gonna
We're gonna have to start a mastermind to support me to write a book now.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me stop the recording here.
Yes, please do. Oh my gosh.
To the cloud.